Hello, it's Auntie Dana. I hope you're having a good day. What's behind me today? Yeah, those are apples. And then we're going to be making our own apple tree. I'm going to show you how. And the reason is, let's be safe with Macintosh apple. Now, there's some really good reminders in this book, and we'll talk about it as we go along. There's Macintosh apple and all his Applebee friends. Yes, this is an H W Product Originator book. Copyright 1989. One day, Mrs. Appleby, and I think Mrs. Appleby is the teacher taking her students on a field trip. Okay. One day, Mrs. Appleby and the Apple kids went on a field trip to the safety station. In Appletown, the police station and the fire station were in the same building, so the people in the town called it the safety station. Macintosh Apple, who always thought about safety, was the line leader. "We must be sure that our shoelaces are tied," Macintosh said. "And we must stay on the sidewalk because it's dangerous to walk in the street." "You're absolutely correct," agreed Mrs. Appleby. "What is that on Macintosh's shoelace?" Applesauce Susie asked. "It's my identification tag," Macintosh explained. "It tells who I am." So I'm just going to show you this. This is on his shoelace. Now, this book was written in 1989. I would say these days, it's good to have a tag, your name, your parents' phone number, your address, but you want to keep it in a pocket or in a backpack, right? You don't want any stranger just looking at it and pretending they know you. Mrs. Appleby could see that Crabapple Charlie was becoming annoyed because he was anxious to get to the safety station. "We'll get there soon, Charlie," Mrs. Appleby said. He even has a hat that says Charlie Crabapple. Oh my goodness. Macintosh kept talking about safety, as he liked to do. It's important to know your whole name and your parents' whole names. "Susie, do you know your whole name?" asked Mrs. Appleby. "Of course I do," said Susie. "It's, Apple Susie, Applesauce Susie." They're practicing. "So your full name is your first name and your last name. Like, I'm Auntie Dana, but my full name is Dana Chandler." That's a full name. "And it's important to know your address," Macintosh told the Apple kids. "You're right," Mrs. Appleby said. Macintosh told Susie and Charlie that he lived at 123 Acorn Avenue. "But do you know what town you live in?" Mrs. Appleby asked. Macintosh answered proudly, "Appletown." Yep. Mrs. Appleby asked, "If you were lost, who would you ask for help?" Macintosh suggested asking a police officer, and Charlie said in a complaining voice, "If we ever get to the safety station, I could ask a fireman." "You're both right," said Mrs. Appleby. "People at the police station or the fire station would help you find your home and parents. There are safety officers, right? And that's if you have like the identification tag tucked in a pocket or a backpack, your lunch kit, then you would give that. If you're lost or in trouble, you would give that to the policeman or fireman or a safe grown-up. "Can anyone think of anything else you should know?" asked Mrs. Appleby. "You should know your telephone number," Macintosh said. And Susie said proudly, "My phone number is 987-6543. Mrs. Appleby was pleased that Susie knew her phone number. But Charlie just wanted one thing. I wish we were at the safety station, he said. Oh, look, she's showing us. 987-6543. Once I got lost in the grocery store, Macintosh said. I was surrounded by milk cartons and chunks of cheese and egg crates. It was cold, and the ice machine was making a weird sound. Were you scared? Susie asked. Nah, said Macintosh. I just asked the grocery store man to help me. I told him my mom's name, and he called her over the loudspeaker and told her where I was. Oh, something like, Attention, Mrs. Macintosh, your son is in aisle 4. People in the grocery store there to help you too. We're here, Charlie shouted as he looked at the police cars, ambulances, and the fire trucks. Can I have a fire truck? Charlie asked the firewoman. She said, I'm sorry, Charlie, but we need it to keep here in case there is a fire in Appletown. This is Safety Captain Johnson, Mrs. Appleby told the kids. He is in charge of the safety station. Will you teach me to drive the fire truck? Charlie asked. I can't teach you how to drive, Captain Johnson said, but I can teach you something more important. If you were hurt or in some kind of trouble or danger, how would you get help? Asked Captain Johnson. I'd tell my mom or dad, says Applesauce Susie. Yes, that would be the best thing to do. But what if your parents weren't there? Asked Captain Johnson. He told the children that in Appletown, in most towns, the number to call in an emergency is 911. They should tell the safety station operator what is wrong, and they will send someone to help. Have you heard that before? Yeah. Turn on the phone and 911, and you'll get someone that will help. As Captain Johnson gave each of the apple kids an identification tag for their shoelace, Polka Dot, the safety station dog, licked Charlie's hand. Yuck, his tongue is wet, cried Charlie. Thank you, Captain Johnson. I think the class has learned a lot about safety today, said Mrs. Appleby. There they are. And there's the dog. Oh, that's great. So, you ready to see how I made the apple trees? So, it starts with a paper towel roll, and I cut it in half, right? You could do that. And then, on one of the trees I made there, I put some brown to make it look more like tree bark, right? So, bark. Not a dog bark, 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 tree bark. The same word that has two different meanings. So let's get our bark going. Oh, look, it does kind of look like wood, hey? Cool. All right, our next step is, you see the green here? We're going to cut that part. We're going to cut that part right out. Well, we're going to draw it first. Are you ready? So it's green for green. And let's see what it's going to be. Like this. Okay. And we'll cut it out in that shape too, so it looks more like a tree with branches, right? Branches. Okay. So who knows any songs or poems about apples? I think I can think of one. Let's see. 8 little apples up on top. When I sneezed, one fell off. 7 little apples up on top. I shook my head and one fell off. 6 little apples up on top. I did a yawn and one fell off. What number is Auntie Dana at? Oh, well, if we did 6 before, we'll do it again. 6 little apples up on top. I said hi to you, and one fell off. 5 little apples up on top. I did a dance, and one fell off. 4 little apples up on top. I bent right down, and one fell off. 2 little apples up on top. I answered the phone, and one fell off. 1 little apple up on top. I shook my head and it fell off. Whew, and that feels much better. It was heavy holding 10 apples or 8 apples up there. Alrighty, now we're going back to the tree trunk. And to hold that in, we're going to make one snip on one side and a little snip on the other side. And then we just fashion that in there to make our fluffy green tree with branches. And sometimes you got to move it around a little bit like that, and that's okay, right? If it doesn't quite work one way, just try it another way. And we'll eventually get it. Yeah. And here is our tree for now, the one we just did together. But there's something missing now, right? It's going to be apple tree too. So I have some red pom-poms. You can see that's what's on here, right? I just glued them. So you take your red pom-pom, and you can get these in craft kits at the dollar store, right? And you're going to put glue on there quite a bit, right? And then you're just going to press it onto the paper. Ha! First apple. Okay. It needs another one, doesn't it? It does. Let's do it. Let's go. There's another one. Press. Press. We've got 2 apples. I think we should do another one. And here it is. Our 3rd one. And remember, get that glue on there. Quite a bit. Okay. And let's see. Let's put our apple. Ha! 1 and 2 and 3. I'm going to have a whole forest. So many apples up on top. I turned around and they all dropped. Oh no! Thanks for coming to my story. And if you like what you see and you enjoy the craft, please be a subscriber and you'll know the very next time a new story comes on. All right? Take care and I'll be thinking about you. Bye for now.